On today's episode of Best in Class, we're joined by Jared Lamb, head of school at BASIS Baton Rouge Materra, who's been making waves on social media and in the news for the last several years for his unique approach to leadership, as well as the impressive academic results his campus has garnered. Lamb, who has been leading BASIS Baton Rouge Materra since 2022, makes videos on TikTok and Instagram that chronicle the day in the life of a school principal. His videos cover everything from funny, relatable moments around school to creative and practical tips for educators. But Lamb is most well known for an unconventional move he made last year, his decision to trade in his office for a rolling cart. His most watched TikTok video, titled "I Spent the Entire School Year Without an Office," has garnered approximately 1.7 million views. I'm Patty Bezanson, here with my co-host Peter Bezanson. And we also have Mr. Lamb, of course. Thank you for joining us today. We're so excited to chat with you.
Well, thank you for having me, Peter and Patty. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful.
Jared, how come you're not wearing a muumuu? That's an inside
I'm sorry,
joke.
I forgot it.
Inside joke. It was a dare. Peter made a dare, a challenge in a school leadership retreat to anybody who wore a muumuu to the retreat would get a prize, and Jared showed up, and it was really
I don't
funny.
pass up an opportunity for a prize.
That's right. Of
You
course,
look good in a
of course.
muumuu.
So, Jared, why don't you kick things off by just talking about how you came to join BASIS?
Sure. So I've been a principal for a while now, and so I was both a teacher and a principal in New Orleans, and was planning on relocating into to Baton Rouge, and was started looking for opportunities for my own children. I have three school-age children, and so I was looking for good options for them. And of course, just I was familiar with BASIS's reputation for being some of the best schools in America, the best schools in America. And so I said, well, that sounds like a great place for my students, my children. And it just so happened that it lined up that there was an opening for the head of school position here in Baton Rouge, and so it all worked out seamlessly.
Wonderful. And so what is let's just set the stage a little bit. What does a morning at BASIS Baton Rouge Materra look like for you? What do you see in the halls? Who do you run into? Just what does that look and feel like for you?
Sure. So I mean, I've totally abandoned my office. So I am just out
Hmm.
and walking around the campus. Every morning, I roll my cart over into the gym, and that's where our students intake during our morning carpool. And so I'll roll my cart into the gym. I'll step out to the sidewalk to greet students as they're entering school. So I start off with a ton of fist bumps in the morning. I facilitate a morning meeting with our primary school students to kick off the day each morning, and then once they make their way to class, then I roll my cart across the campus, and so that involves I visit our high school and our middle school classes. So I'll roll over into we have an upper school building, so I'll roll over there, and about a little more than an hour, that first hour of the day is checking in with every faculty and staff member. That's just a routine that I've built into the part of my daily routine in the morning is just check in with our faculty and staff. I ask them two questions. I'll ask, how are you? And is there anything that you need today? And so that's really how I start my day. I start typically over in the high school and the middle school, and then I'll work my way back over to the elementary school, and I just have those daily touch points, and I've just found that those are so instrumental because I'm able to pick up on just whatever is coming into the building that day. I'm able to pick up on it. And if I'm able to help a teacher, if let's say they have issue with their Promethean board, and I'm able to jump in and get our IT coordinator to assist them first thing in the morning, or if a teacher wants to check in about an email that they got from a parent the previous day, it's just that daily touch point. Now, as I'm walking around, a lot of the classes are starting then too. So in some cases, I don't interrupt instruction. So if a teacher's already rolling with their lesson, it's just a wave and a thumbs up. But I just try to start the morning with that routine of just checking in with all of our faculty and staff, making sure they have what they need to be set up for success.
Wow. sounds like you have a lot of energy, and that you get a lot of steps in. Does that sound accurate?
I average so my lower days are usually no lower than 15,000.
Oh my gosh.
The average day is between 15,000. 20,000 is about my max. If it's a day where we have a lot of testing going on, I tend to be even more take even more steps. So occasionally I'll hit a day over 20,000, but 15 to 20,000 is generally the range. But yes, I definitely get my steps in across the campus.
Wow, wow. All right, well, let's talk about the cart. So how uh can you talk about that moment you decided that that's what you wanted to do, that you wanted to give up your office for a rolling cart, and why?
Sure. So prior to working at Basis, I had always had a principal's office. I'd been a principal for over a decade prior to working at Basis, and I had never really spent a ton of time in the office. I've always been, spent more time being visible and walking about. And when my first year here at the school, I did individual meetings with every member of the faculty and staff. I was just trying to get more knowledgeable about just about the strengths of the school, growth areas for the school. So I had those individual check-ins. And one of the trends that was shared with me was faculty and staff shared we don't really have a common meeting space. There's no conference room. And and at that time that we had not yet built our upper school campus, so we were a K through eighth grade campus with limited office space, and so I kind of put two and two together. And I thought, well, I'd never really spend a ton of time in my office as a school leader, and then that combined with then knowing, okay, there's a need to have like a conference room or a meeting space, and so I was walking down the hallway and I saw this AV cart that was just sitting there abandoned. This is in the summer before my first official year in the head of school role, and I saw a cart and I said, what if I just make this my mobile desk?
Oh,
And so I started rolling that thing around, and it was actually funny because when I first started it, people of course, I was brand new to the school, so people were already like, who is this guy and how is this going to be with him with the new guy coming in? And I think that just made people think I was even weirder, because then now I'm like the new guy who's the unknown variable who's also just rolling throughout the building.
with an
And
AV cart,
so
yeah.
it was definitely met with a little bit of skepticism. I actually had a fellow administrator when I first started told me, they said, "Oh yeah, we've worked with other principals who have told us that they're going to be out of the office. This won't last. You're going to end up in that office." And so I kind of took that as a challenge too. I said, "Oh, well, let's see." And I was just thinking to myself, "Okay, let's see if we can make this work." And it just kind of took flight from there, and it just made sense to me, and so we converted the former principal office. It's actually, I'm sitting in the same space right now. It is our school's conference room, and then I spend my days, walking throughout the building, checking in. I get asked a lot of times, like, how do I do the more administrative side of my job? Uh, so I always have a fully charged laptop that's on my cart. It serves as my rolling desk. So, I'll be in the middle of the hallway and I'll responding to an email or, working on something. So I still, the administrative responsibilities, they still happen. It generally happens from the hallway. Another frequent question I get is, okay, so what about when you have a confidential, if you have a confidential meeting or
Sure.
conversation and stuff? And so I get creative with that. I'll use this conference room that I'm in. I will take a call on my work cell phone outside. I will use an empty teacher's classroom. So I just get creative with the spaces. But I always make sure that if there's something that obviously is private, I'll keep that private.
Great. Thank you.
How I mean, it's interesting when you said the other school leader who said to you, "This is never going to last." I was thinking to myself while you were talking, I bet I told him this was never going to work. So I don't know if you were referring to me, but not about wanting to disguise it. But I mean, I tell this to school leaders all the time. I mean, school leaders come up with very complicated ways to say, I'm going to, unlike the last guy or the last woman, I'm going to get into the classrooms every day. I'm going to be present in the hallways. Um, and then they oftentimes will come up with very complicated and convoluted ways to try to make that happen. And I usually say to them, like, you know, this is probably not going to work. You're going to need a simpler way of doing this. And I get proud of myself when it doesn't work and I know better. But in your case, I was pretty confident this wasn't going to work either. And I think that's what I'm most proud of you for, is that it's worked. And so one of the things, like, you talk about it being about the daily touch point, which I think is like a core principle of it, a daily touch point with every teacher every day. When you have that moment in the morning where and I can't remember exactly the two questions you asked, but how you doing? Is there anything you need? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
How often does an answer to that question interrupt your actual ability to do a daily checkpoint with everybody else? Like, how frequently in the morning, when you're in the midst of kind of your rounds, does something jack that plan up? And then the whole rest of the day, or a significant part of the day, is spent dealing with the problem that you discovered in an early morning.
That's a good question. I would say that I think, the first part is, then I'll jump into answer that second part of the question. But the first part is, what makes it work for me and what makes it sustainable for me is I just build it into my daily routine. And so that's the reason why I've been able to continue with it. Is, if you ask anyone else, and we have an excellent leadership team here, they know that, okay, Mr. Lamb's going to be on these rounds the first hour of the day. We know he will come around and check in with us too, but we also know that, like, if there's if there's something that pops up, we're gonna own that, and we'll take the lead on that while he's doing the morning rounds. And so I think one is, like, I have an incredible team, and so they help to be like, without the folks around me, I wouldn't be able to implement this at the level I'm doing. But we have excellent administrators. We have a great front office staff. Like, they help to support me so that I can do these check-ins. And the second part is, I think, if it's few and far between where there's like a legitimate emergency I need to drop everything, and that's going to derail my next 2 hours when I'm doing those check-ins. So typically, I think, if I had to guess, we have about 100 faculty and staff. Generally, on my morning round, I mean, most of it is just smiling, waving, and people saying, "No, all's good today." I went around and asked a question this morning, and most people are like, "Nope, I'm all set, all good," and that's a typical the response that I get. I think part of what the reason why I ask every day is because people do feel comfortable asking me when there is something. But the typical requests I get are really, uh, in general, I'm not solving it in that moment too. A lot of the requests I get, a teacher will tell me, well, hey, I need to actually check in about this question around our curriculum. And I'll say, okay, well, let me, what times you're planning today? Let me sit down with you at 10:30, and we can talk through it. So it's a lot of the stuff I'm not troubleshooting in that moment, but I'm also just like scheduling a time to check in with someone later, or we can do additional follow-up later. So it's the small things. When I go around, it's, can you cover my class for a second so I can run to the restroom? Or can you help me grab the copy machine was down? Can you grab those copies? So those are the quick things that don't take a whole lot of time. And the larger things too, if it's the teacher who get the email from the parent who they need some support in how I'm responding to that, that's something that we'll have a follow-up conversation, because I'm not having a whole conversation as a teacher starting their first period class, for example.
I want to pivot to your fame a little bit. You're like the most famous person I know, and or at least not the most famous person I know, but the most famous person I've probably ever met and had any sort of conversation with. And you're kind of like I bet most people couldn't name the president of LSU, but I bet almost everybody could name the football coach of LSU. So I bet most people couldn't name, the co-chairman of Basis Educational Ventures, but most people probably know who Jared Lamb is. So one of our employees. So how did you get, first of all, how did you get famous? Like, and I gather you decided to post something online. So why did you decide to post something online, and how did it catch fire?
That's a great question. So it's actually interesting, my start. So it was my my first year at Basis. This is year 4 at Basis for me. My first year at Basis was the year I went fully mobile. So it was my first year that had a school role. I was rolling my cart, doing my cart thing. at that point, I had no social media presence outside of I had my own Instagram and Facebook account, but that was it. And definitely didn't know anything about TikTok. Didn't have a TikTok account, and it was in the spring of that my first year in the head of school role here, where I saw there was a local article in the Advocate, a local publication here in Baton Rouge, and it was highlighting a the principal of the year here in Louisiana who had created a TikTok account. And so I remember reading this article and I was like, that's a cool idea. And he basically was sharing that he created a TikTok account because he used it for teacher recruitment. He said, I use it to showcase the work that our school is doing. And it's actually been a good way to like help attract other teachers to come work at the school. And our school, we've been growing year over year. We've added an additional grade each year. Our middle school's been expanding. So we are hiring additional teachers every year. And so I was like, well, teacher recruitment is extremely important to us because we want the best working with our students, and our school is going to continue to grow over these next several years. So we will need more and more teachers. And so again, that was in the height of like spring state testing and the craziness. And so I kind of put a mental pin in it where I said, okay, let me revisit this one over the summer. So fast forward, it was actually we had wrapped up the school year on a Friday that year. So it was the last day of school. On that Saturday, my wife, she went to go visit her parents with my kids. I was still in town, and so it was just me and the dog at home. So this is the first Saturday after the school year is finished, and so my children are constantly running circles around me. This is like my first moment where I'm just like I have a whole Saturday on my hands, and the school year is over. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go to school and I'm going to film a TikTok. And uh, so I went to school I got up that Saturday morning. I went to school and I thought to myself, I said, well, maybe I'll film something about me rolling the cart because that's just unique, and let's see how it goes. I go to school. My first step when I got to school, I sat in my former office conference room, and my first step was, okay, sign up for TikTok, register for a TikTok account. So I'd never logged into the platform, and so I sign up for the TikTok account. I then tell myself, okay, I'm going to commit to I will not leave school until I have this video posted. And so again, I have no idea what I'm doing. It's just me. I'm holding up the camera like this, and I didn't, to show just what an amateur I was, I didn't even know how to watch the video until I hit post. So I record this whole thing. I have no idea exactly what it's going to look like. I'm having trouble. I don't know how to manipulate the site. But that was my commitment. I was like, I'll just hit post on this. So, and I spent an exorbitant amount of time doing this just because of the fact that I was clunky. I didn't know what I was doing. So I remember I hit post. It's up there. It's off for the world to see. And so then I remember I went out to eat afterwards. So I'm out at a restaurant, I'm by myself, and I'm looking at my brand new TikTok account with my new post, and I literally have a text where I texted my wife and I said, check out this post I just put up, and check this out, 8 people have watched it. And I was so proud that 8 people had watched this video, and I was like, this is credit. Like I didn't even I don't I'm like have like a few followers now, and I don't even, this is the very first thing I've ever put on TikTok. And so I went to bed that night, and just kind of just woke up the next morning, and I looked at my phone, and I was like, oh my God, what is happening? And my phone was just alert, 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 alert. And it was all of these TikTok updates that like the video just started to spout off. So that very
Wow.
first video that I posted was just about me rolling my cart. I woke up the next morning and it had over 1 million views. And I was just like, what happened? and and so that's how it all started. I did not go into this with any intentions of, oh, I want to create this huge social media presence. I just went in with like, I saw this article from this principal and I was like, oh, this is a cool idea for teacher recruitment. And the thing that first post I had just blew up. And so I think what surprised me about it the most was the amount of just surprise and how people just were very positive to seeing that video of me rolling the cart, and oh, this is what a great strategy this is. Oh, this would be awesome if our administrator was doing this. And so
Yeah.
that was the impulse for me of, okay, actually, let me continue actually creating content, because whereas I went into it with the lens of let me try to recruit some great teachers to come work here, what I realized is this content that I'm putting out there is actually others are finding it helpful. And so I really like that aspect of just being able to put content out to the world that others are using. And that's honestly one of the big motivations of why I continue to do it, is because I get such positive response. I mean, the DMs I get of people saying, I tried this strategy. I'm utilizing this strategy at my school. Or I'll get messages from teachers saying, our principals and our administrators are rolling carts, and it's changed the culture of our school. Like it's super motivating to get messages like that. And it's a tough fight we all have in education. And so if I can put something out there that's going to be helpful to someone else, that's motivation for me.
I want to get
Ah,
back, and I'm sure Patty does too, to talk about like the actual impact you're having, but before we do that, I have a few more kind of, I don't know, logistical questions. I want to dig into kind of fame still a little bit. So I had a video that I filmed. I went to Caitlin Clark. Patty and I went to the NCAA tournament back when the Caitlin Clark days, and there was a moment where there was a practice in between the semifinal national championship and the national championship. The national championship, by the way, where they were beaten by, as you know, the worst basketball team in the universe, the LSU women's basketball team. But anyway, that aside, I will always dislike them. I respect them, but dislike them for beating us in that game. But at any rate, they were walking into a practice, and the public was invited to the practice. And I filmed the team walking in, and then I zoomed out, and you could see that you were in an arena of 20,000 people there to watch Caitlin Clark practice. Like, that wasn't for a
Wow.
game. And it was like, and that was my like text, like, this is a practice, dot, dot, dot. And that thing, nothing like yours, but every other post I've ever made on Facebook is like, 10 likes and 75 views or whatever. I mean, I'm pretty thrilled if I get 10 views on something. And this went to like, thousands or something. And I could
Yes.
tell that the reason when I dug into like, how did it get into the thousands, was there was one kind of random person who I didn't know who was some sort of influencer, some important person who reposted it. So
Mm.
was there a TikTok influencer? Was there the thing that got you from 7 views when you went to bed to 1 million views in the morning? Was there a handful of very important people who happened to pick it up, or one important person? Or was it more organic and did it get spread by the little people, or did it get spread by the big people? You know what I mean?
Yes,
little people.
I think it was not one singular person. It was I have to go back and look at like the number of shares on that video, but I think it was because it was unique, because I started off the video saying I ditched my office for a rolling cart. And so I think that in retrospect, I didn't know what I was doing with social media when I recorded that, but I think it was just like it piqued people's interest, because they were like, who is this principal who's rolling a cart? But what happened with that video was people just were sharing it. And so
Yeah,
it wasn't a singular person, but it was just, I think the uniqueness of an administrator who doesn't have an office, who just rolls a cart around all day,
yeah,
was just a new perspective that people saw. And so that video got, I mean, a lot of shares, obviously, to have 1 million
yeah,
views. And so I think, and then I think what kind of built, just the community in social media that I have now is just because a lot of the practices that I have, I think people are utilizing, or people think are strong practices that they can bring to their own school. So I think that that's helped to continue to build it. Is that I try to share useful stuff
hmm
that people can use in their own schools.
yeah,
I think I think particularly struck a nerve with teachers. Our daughter used to teach at Basis Phoenix Primary, and she randomly, we didn't even talk to her about you. She randomly found you on TikTok and came to us and said, "Did you know that one of your heads of school is famous on TikTok? Oh my God, that's so cool!" And she wanted to meet you, and it was just really cool. But I also heard that you've recruited, that teachers have reached out to you to say, "I have to come work for you," because they saw what you were doing on TikTok. Is that right? And how often has that happened?
Yes, I think it's so that's been one of the things that's been just like weird for me is I will you know, uh, again, I feel like I always feel like I'm like a principal and a head of school first and foremost. Like that is my thing. And but it is weird now where and people just recognize me because of my online presence. And so I'll be out at the grocery store and the teacher will come up and say hello to me, or I was on
Yeah.
vacation with my family and I'll have people come up and I'm always really grateful for that, just because it's awesome to just have a supportive educator community, and especially with just some of the challenges in education, I I think one of the goals for my platform is just to create a more supportive environment and to offer best practices and strategies. But it's been an interesting dynamic. I think definitely one of the interesting factors about it is when I interview candidates now, more often than not, people will know who I am. Like, normally when you come to an interview at a school, it's you're going to meet the head of school or the principal for the first time and interview. Most people, when they come in, they already know of me because of the social media, and so that's been an interesting aspect. I think it has definitely helped us with teacher recruitment. I a lot of teachers who have come in, and I I will put out. I just posted in my stories this week that we're hiring for a physics teacher for next year. And so I have physics teachers who like send me emails directly saying, "Hey, I saw your post." So I still, you know, early on, that first video, part of the idea behind it was teacher recruitment. And that definitely is still alive and well. And we've hired some great teachers who I've been connected through my platform for sure.
Do
Very
you have
cool.
do you have haters? Do you deal with like how many like direct messages and emails, and like are you able to do you have you had to hire someone to go through like the messages that you get? Um and do you have to deal with like just like trolls and haters and stuff like that?
Yes, I'll tell you a funny story about that. When I first started with my TikTok account, again, I'm new to the platform. I don't know how to do. And so there was this one person online who every video I posted, the person was just posting just hateful stuff towards
Yeah.
me. Oh, this is a
Oh,
horrible person. And so and I did at that point, because I was so new to the platform and I never had to block anyone. And so this person, it was not about, they didn't post about me rolling the cart. It was just the comments about my physical appearance and just about
oh,
it was just like it was just negative stuff. Generally, if you don't like my style of rolling a cart, I get that, and I'm not deleting comments about if your philosophy is different from mine. But when it gets to be personal, I'm just like, no, we
Yeah.
don't. I'm not going to entertain that stuff. But I didn't know how to block someone in the beginning, and so this person, every time I was posting early on, this person would just always post a hateful thing about me. And I would tell my wife, I said, every single video I post, this person's coming at me. And
oh.
and so then I then just came to my senses and realized, okay, let me Google how to block someone. And I cannot tell you how satisfying that first ever block was. And like I was like, never again will you post this hateful comment on my page. um but to answer your question, Peter, yes, like I think any what I generally find is that my community on social media is very positive and supportive. What I find is for example, I posted a video on my TikTok account about bullying earlier this week. And that video, it's going viral, it has over 400,000 views. Any of the bigger videos that have a wider reach, they're reaching a lot of people outside of my community, and so that's when we see the negative comments that
Mm.
always jump in there. And But honestly, I also think what prepared me for that was honestly school leadership. When you're at a school of we here at Basis, we have about 1,000 students at our school. As a head of school, it's impossible for me to make everyone happy, and so I think my lesson in school leadership is that, like, you make the best decisions that you can, and you stand by the decisions that you believe are in the best interest of the students in the school. And that's kind of my approach to social media as well, is that I know not everyone is going to like the content that I put out there or the messages that I have to share, but I believe what I'm putting out there is what schools need. But I recognize that, not everyone's going to be positive about that. And that comes with the territory.
It's been interesting to me within our network that, we have whatever we got, 46 schools, give or take, I think 48 next year, 49 next year, 27, maybe 29,000 students next year in BASIS schools. And Patty and I try to visit every school every year. We get pretty close. Although I don't think we got to Louisiana this year. I think we're planning to come there in September.
No.
Did we come in September? When did we do the hockey thing? That was last spring, right?
That was last spring. Yes.
Yes, that's
So
right.
we'll come this fall. I notice when we're out in the field, I notice other directors and deans that have taken up the rolling cart thing. Like, I see that, but I don't see many heads of school that have done it. So is there anyone else in our network that I'm not remembering that's actually picked up on this and embraced it? And is it, at the end of the day, is it something replicable? Like, do you know of people inside or outside? And I'm curious more about inside the network, but even outside the network, people who have done it and then stuck with it. Like, how much of it is Jared cult of personality and how you kind of manage life that makes it work, and how much is it replicable for the average principal or head of school?
I think everyone has to do the best style that works for them. And one of the things I do try to share in the content that I put out there is that this is just what works for me. And I'm not saying that my way is better, or that my way is not the way. My way is a strategy that has worked for me. And the reason why I keep rolling is because I've seen the benefit that it's had to me having a pulse on the school. I've seen the benefit that, in terms of just from a staff retention standpoint, I think our teachers and staff feel well supported. I think a role like a dean lends itself to being visible because you're student facing, you're in and out of classrooms already through that role. And typically, I think the role of a head of school or a principal is there's more administrative tasks that are obviously on the plates in those roles. There have been other heads of school who have rolled carts within the BASIS network, and I'm not sure how consistently if they've continued to do it or not. But I think it's really just, I think people need to find out what works for them. I think for me, I continue to do it because I love just having a pulse on what is happening across the school. I think the difference between from when I was more office based and now is that there are a lot less surprises because I feel like I have a good pulse on what's happening on campus. My personal philosophy is, like, I like to go where the action is. And so if arrival, dismissal, I'm always in those spaces. At lunchtime, we have all of our middle school and high school students eat lunch at the same time, so I'm rolling there. But I really believe you have to find the style that works best for you. This works for me, but I can't speak to everyone. I think the other thing is as I mentioned before, it's also about the people around you too. So again, I do have a strong administrative team here. Our team of directors, they do excellent work, and so they allow me to, because they are all strong in their role. Like, I feel like I have more flexibility to maneuver around the building.
So somebody came in and offered you the superintendent role for Chicago Public Schools or something like that. First of all, I hope you wouldn't take it. I hope you would stay with us and just try to parlay it into a better job or better higher pay. So please come back if you get that offer. But if they made you that offer, presumably then putting words in your mouth, you would not, as within your first year, require every principal in the Chicago public schools to adopt the rolling cart methodology, right? You would
Yes,
say like that you shouldn't, well, that's not going to work to have everybody do this. You might over time try to hire the sort of people for whom it would work, but not in that you wouldn't compel everybody to do it.
exactly. I going back to the superintendent comment, I will get comments like that frequently on my social media page of, oh, you should be superintendent of. I think you also have to know your sweet spot. And so my sweet spot is being on the hallways, being in classrooms. I just that's like what I get my energy from. And so yeah, I don't have aspirations to move. The superintendent of Chicago public schools probably wouldn't be allowed to roll a cart all over the place. You'd have to be more office based, so it just wouldn't work. But to your question is, we you know my after my first year of rolling a cart, the way I brought it to my leadership, I brought it to my leadership team over that first summer, and I told them, I said, I said this has worked for me. I said I would like everyone to try it and get your feedback on it. And so I said we're buying everyone a cart. You select do your if you want the same one I have, we'll order that one. If you have another model of a cart that you want to get, that you can get that one. And so I basically for all of our directors on our team, we purchased them rolling carts over the summer. So my second year as head of school, every one of our members of our leadership team had their own rolling carts. But I didn't set any requirements in terms of them actually like how much like I think you know principals and heads of school can get very prescriptive and things need to look this way, this way. I said you have the resource, find out the way that works best for you. And so some of our deans, for example, they're on their carts all day long. Like they even some of
Well,
them they have an office space, but they'll only really use it if they're having a private conversation with a student or something that needs to be confidential. Other than that, they're out in the hallways the entire school day. We have a member of our academic team, for example, she has a lot more computer-based work. She's working on different testing stuff. Like she has a cart, and so she will roll that out. During state testing last week, she was rolling her cart around the building and out present helping with testing. But she also has days where she's more based out of her office. So I think people will have to figure out what works for them. But I don't think it works if it's like prescriptive of everyone
Mm-hmm.
needs to be out there because different people have different work styles, and I feel strongly that you have to figure out what works best for you.
Do
yeah,
different
because
people
it's
have
more,
different?
it's, oh,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Peg.
Peter. You
No, I'll
finish,
ask my
please.
last question, then you
Yeah,
can
please.
butt in.
Yes. Go
The
ahead.
the different people have different carts. Like, do have you do you soup up your cart? Have you considered like off-road tires and stuff like that for your cart? And then do your directors compete with one another in terms of the quality of their carts and the accoutrements of their carts, the flair on their carts? Do they express themselves through their cart? How does that work at your school?
Okay, yes, there is a lot of cart differentiation here on the campus, and so I still have my original cart that I made my original video with, and I have been committed. I am totally loyal to rolling that thing, and it's loud. You can hear me coming half a mile down the hallway, and but I have said to myself, I said this is what this is my first cart from my very first TikTok. I'm going to stick with it, and so I had a problem this is about 2 weeks ago now. I had we a student won a competition to be the principal of the day, a second grade student, and I was having an issue with one of my cart wheels where the wheel fell off, and so the student won principal of the day, and so the student the part of that was you got to roll the cart around all day. Well, the second grader was rolling it, and the wheel fell off multiple times while the student was rolling it. And so then I was like, "Oh, hey, this is a huge safety hazard. Like, we can't have the second grader going home saying the cart fell on top of her because the wheel fell off." So we had to sub out and get her a backup cart. But then it turns out that the wheel on my cart was stripped, and that's why it kept on. I had our maintenance guy looking at it, and so he was like, "You're gonna have to we're gonna have to do a complete, we're gonna have to do a complete renovation on your cart because you've totally stripped the wheels." But I think that also speaks to the fact, like, I'm not doing this cart for show. Like, if I've stripped the wheels down where it needs to be fully replaced, then it tells you the miles I've gotten in on this thing. Uh, so, but I had to, so then I used one of our director's carts. I gave that to the second grade student. And then after the principal of the day, I continued to borrow one of my director's carts, and she had these huge wheels installed on hers. And I was like, this is such a smoother ride. Like, how have I been living in the dark ages with these little wheels? And I'm trying to hold my things off from not falling off when I'm going over a crevice on the patio. And so I told our maintenance guy, I said, can you help install new wheels on mine too, that will just, but after rolling around my the directors for a couple days, I was moved. So but different people have different, so the answer is people have very different cart styles. We have one dean who, I'm always jealous of her cart because she has these like this whole folder organization system. She has a calendar system. She has this whole setup with different band-aids and different, things that students need throughout the day. So she has probably the most well-stocked cart. It's like everything you need, and I'm always going to her for, hey, can I get, you have this form or you have this, and she has it all right there. So people have really kind of made it their own, and I I I think I need to evolve a little bit because I've been my cart definitely needs some upgrades.
Is the base of
It's
everybody's cart still the AV cart? Like,
No,
is that the
different people have,
it
the majority are, but different people have, like, some people have opted more for like the standing desk and a little bit of a sleeker look. So it really runs the spectrum.
Peter and I watch Shark Tank a lot, and you see a lot of inventors on the show who've created prototypes for things to help solve problems. It seems to me like you could do that with a cart. You could create like a prototype of a cart that has all the features in it that you've troubleshooted through and figured out what works best, and then you could sell it on Shark Tank, get an investor, and have a little side business.
That
That's what it seems like to me.
that's a great,
Yeah.
it's just too bad that I'm just too busy with all my head of school responsibilities that I don't have time to do that audition. But that is,
Yeah.
yes, no, I think
Yeah.
maybe that'll be this year's
Someday.
summer project.
There you
or
go. There you
license
go. So
license the technology to Patty, and Patty, you can go sell it on
no,
Shark Tank
Let's
I
go.
or
yeah,
make
no,
money off of Jared
right.
Lamb.
Right, maybe. So, Jared, how has all of this shaped you as a leader? And then what does it look like at the end of the day when you park your cart and you walk away from your cart? Who are you? And what is that? How do you reflect on all of this at the end of the day? It's a big question, but just talk about that.
Sure. I think, Patty, I think one of the things that I am most proud of is it, the cart for me was just an opportunity to better support students, faculty, and staff. And honestly, that's more than, the the love I get on social media, and any of that. I think what I'm most grateful for is the fact that um, we have a great team here at Basis, and we have a consistent team, we have a dedicated team, and I'm really proud of just our students, our school, and at the end of the day, like, I think the social media stuff is it's it always, for me, feels like that's like the kind of the stuff on the side. What is most important is that we have a great school and a great team of people, and kids come in excited to learn every day, and that's what
Yeah.
really fires me up. And going mobile on the cart, and supporting the team in the way I do, I feel that helps to give students and staff a great experience here. And that's what motivates me. I'm incredibly proud of just our students, of their achievement. To have our high schoolers have 100% passage rate on their AP biology test, 100% passage rate on their AP language. For our school and our students to have some of the top gains in the entire state of Louisiana here at the school. That that for me is more important than any of the accolades online. It is about how do we set students up for long-term success, and so that's what motivates me and what I reflect on just in thinking about just holistically the work that we're doing here.
I love that. I love that. So I think we're running close to time, but I wanted to ask you one final question. And that is, what advice would you give to other school leaders that are looking for ways to improve their school culture and connect better with their teachers and their community? It's not about the cart, but what is the key? What advice would you share?
Sure. I think that the biggest challenge for our schools, one of the biggest challenges for our schools is that we continue to put more and more responsibilities on teachers. I think teachers have a very
Yeah.
difficult job, and I view the job of a head of school or a principal or administrator. I think part of our work has to be teacher customer service, and a lot of times, and people will tell me this online, they say, "Oh, you're favoring the teachers over the students." For me, it's not an either
Yeah.
or, it's an and. I believe that if teachers have the support they need to do their best work, that in turn is going to set students up for success. And so my advice to just administrators on the whole is create an atmosphere of customer service for teachers so that they are empowered to do their best work. And that is going to in turn set students and schools up for success. And so you're exactly right. It's not about rolling a cart, but it's about if I'm a teacher in a school, do I feel like the administrative team has my back? They're going to be supportive of helping me do my best work in the classroom so that my students can achieve and succeed. And that's what I believe to my core is that it's the role of our administrators to support teachers so they can be their best.
Well said. Thank you so much. And that is all the time we have today. Mr. Lamb, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a really great conversation. Really appreciate your time. We know how busy you are. So thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. Really appreciate
Well,
it.
Peter, Patty, I appreciate it. This is the longest I've sat down in a long time, so I'm excited to jump back out here on my cart.
Yeah, you have
Well,
more steps to get in the day.
we got to do a round two because I got whole pages of questions about your dad, about your wife, about your kids, about how
Yeah.
BASIS impacted Baton Rouge and whether Baton Rouge has embraced BASIS, difference between New Orleans and Baton
Oh
Rouge
my.
education markets. I got many more, so we're gonna have to
All
do
right.
it.
All right. So there'll be a part
ready.
two.
I'm ready for part two. Let me know when,
Okay.
and I'm ready for it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in for another episode of Best in Class. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss future episodes. And please tell your friends as well. Thank you so much.